How we doing, Suns fans? How's everybody's night going? 4 wins in a row for your Phoenix Suns when every win matters right now. And in a game, with all due respect to the Hornets, who are very young, who are very injured, who I don't even know if rebuilding is the key word for them. They're probably going to rebuild, which we're going to talk about later. But I don't even want to use the word rebuild. They're just a bad team. They're young and they have LaMelo Ball and they just need to build around him. This is a game you should win. And we're going to talk about it in a little bit. The Phoenix Suns pretty much did that. There was a little bit of a scare in the second quarter. We're going to go over that. But really, after midway through the third, you knew this game was pretty much over. I'm not going to lie to you guys. The last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, I kind of dozed off and was just getting ready for this live show. Which, speaking of that, Suns fans, do me a huge favor. Make sure to Hulk smash that like button. Please subscribe for everything Phoenix Suns. We're probably not going to talk about this game too much because I really want to dive into these trade rumors, especially about Chris Paul. And I kind of just want to just say my piece on the Rui Hachimura Phoenix Suns stuff. Just kind of want to give my piece on that and then move on. So we're going to wait about about 30 more seconds or so, and then we'll dive in. I know that a lot of Suns fans are probably still exiting the arena on their way home. If you guys are watching this later, like I said, make sure to Hulk smash that like button. Please subscribe. Appreciate everybody's support on the content lately. You guys are doing an amazing job supporting me, and I really appreciate it. Just recently did a great post-game live show with my friends over at the Suns Jam Session podcast, and we had a lot of great conversations over there. And once again, I appreciate everybody's support on the channel. So let's go ahead and dive into this, you guys. This game felt over early on. It felt over after the first quarter. And the first quarter was pretty easy to sum up. Also, you guys, do me a favor, if you guys could, just let me know if everything's sounding good, everything's looking good. I hope you guys like the new lights. I didn't really address that in the previous live show, but I got some brand new lights. I can change colors and everything. But let me know if we're sounding okay over here. But anyways, actually, you know what? Before we get started, I'll check that on my end since we're kind of starting early here. Just make sure we're sounding good. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties, you guys. Let's see. Of course, I got to watch an ad on my own channel. Thank you, Mark Jackson. Sounds good. Looks good. Appreciate you, man. All right, cool. We're looking good. We're sounding good. My apologies, you guys. If you're watching later, go ahead and skip all that. Anyways, all right, cool. First quarter, pretty easy to sum up. Cameron Johnson was on absolute fire. I don't know what got into Cameron Johnson today. It was amazing. He could not miss. I even tweeted it out that I think he had 9 points in 4 minutes, 4 for 4 from 3. That was early on. He had all that in 4 minutes. The ball was moving. The Suns were hitting threes. They were hitting their mid-range shots. The defense was really good. They were taking and making their threes. And then I saw a few tweets on this too. Cam Johnson made as many threes as the Hornets had field goals in the first quarter, which was 6. Cam Johnson finished the first quarter with 16 points. The Hornets as a team had 15 points. Cameron Johnson was absolutely incredible. And the Suns as a team were absolutely incredible. But I think the Suns had, and really I think the entire league had another reminder. Even though the Suns won this game pretty easily, we won by 30 or whatever. I'm not good at math. In that second quarter, I think the Suns were reminded that you can potentially lose on any night to any given team. With how terrible the Hornets are, they had a nice reminder that you can lose on any given night. The Suns were up big, man. I think the score was 50-22 or something like that. The Hornets go on a 15-2 run. The lead was trimmed to 55-39. Suns call a timeout within the second quarter, 2:21 left. Terry Rozier hit 3 threes. Hornets had a few other shots. And I think Dave King tweeted this out. The Hornets made 5 3-point plays in the last 4 minutes, plus another pair. The Suns' lead was down to 11 after being as high up as 30. Suns missed 7 straight shots. They were outscored 32-22 in the second quarter. The Hornets ended the second quarter on a 23-5 run. Someone also addressed that the Hornets were playing really good zone defense, which the Suns do struggle in. That's something that, as a team, they need to improve on. The Hornets went to the zone, was leading the stops. The Suns were getting shots. They just weren't going in, which, again, kind of where a Devin Booker or even a DeAndre Ayton is missed. I even feel like in the last couple of games, like as much as we criticize Ayton, as much as DeAndre Ayton is one of the most debated players in Phoenix Suns history, I feel like in these last few games, DeAndre Ayton could have been really impactful. Even just his presence out there, especially in tonight's game. I mean, the Hornets are, they're obviously injured and they're young and they're a mess as a team, but like, I think Ayton would have been really impactful out there. Fast forward to the third quarter, Chris Paul starts cooking. He had like 10 points in the third quarter, maybe more. He had this nice touch pass to Dario Saric. Dario Saric found Damian Lee for a nice shot, which that led to a three. The Suns' social media team posted this nice play from Bismack Biyombo where he had the ball near the free throw line, waited patiently, found Dario Saric for the nice pass. Some other things that I saw too. Dario Saric had this beautiful no-look bullet pass to Jock Landale. He kind of stumbled a little bit, kind of fumbled, and he missed. But then the next trip down, he had a three-pointer. It was just one of those great nights for the Phoenix Suns where, on the exception of that second quarter, everything was clicking. We're going to look at the numbers real quick, you guys. Shout out to my guy, Hawks Hoops. He says, yo, Suns Geek, how you been? Doing great, brother. I got to get you on the channel, man. It was an absolute blast when I was on your channel a while back. Appreciate you being here, man. If you guys want great basketball content, check out Hawks Hoops on TikTok and YouTube. Good friend of the channel, and I got to get you on my show as soon as possible, man. But appreciate you being here. Mark Jackson says, we looked good, but it was the Hornets. Yeah, I know it was the Hornets, but that's kind of why I went on that little bit of a rant where I said that you can lose on any given night to any team. Speaking of the Hornets, you guys, I want to lower this stuff real quick because former Mr. Valley Boy, yes, the man that started the Valley Boys, former Phoenix Suns fan favorite, Kelly Oubre Jr. was on the bench tonight, and I got to show you guys my shirt. Check this out. You guys remember this? Kelly freaking Oubre, man, one of my favorite Phoenix Suns players of all time. I don't know how the salaries would work and everything, but man, I would love Kelly Oubre to be back on this team. Miguel, we won the game, man. It was like, what, 127? Oh, wait, I have the numbers right here. What am I doing? It was 128-97. We crushed them. But appreciate everybody that's being here, man. Thank you guys for watching and listening. We're gonna dive into the numbers here in a minute, but I really want this live show to really be about these trade rumors, which we are going to dive into. If you guys got any questions, any comments, anything that you took away from this game, let me know. But let's go ahead and do this. So I introduced this, I guess, quote segment a while ago when we were doing the post-game live show with the Suns Timberwolves. Pretty simple, you guys. MVP of the game, and I'm looking at the numbers, and I'll even pull up the numbers for you guys, at least the Suns numbers anyways. I screenshotted it. That way it's a lot easier for me to look and you guys to look as well. There's a few of them. I always, whenever I'm on the Suns Jam Session podcast, I like to have a few honorable mentions for what they call the Suns Jam Star of the game. But for the Suns, MVP of the game tonight, first off, you got to go with Cameron Johnson, who I haven't spent enough time talking about him tonight. He did play 18 minutes. I'm sure that Suns fans are probably upset about, Monty Williams, I guess, freezing him or whatever with the minutes. He did get popped in the face. I forgot who did it. And I don't know if it was an elbow to the face either, but his face did get pretty swollen quickly. But he finished the game with 24 points, 6 3-pointers made, 3 assists, 3 rebounds. He's got to be the MVP of the game. If you take away that second quarter, the Phoenix Suns pretty much followed Cam Johnson's lead. He got hot early and the Suns followed suit. But I also want to give an MVP mention, honorable mention, if you will, to Chris Paul. 27 minutes, 6 for 9 from the field, 2 made threes, 14 points, 11 assists, 5 rebounds. And as I mentioned, I think he had 10 or 12 of those in the third quarter. Chris Paul was great, and he's been playing well. I know that he just came back from injury, but I've said this a few different times this season, you guys. He has had some really overlooked games, in my opinion. And I feel like kind of the narrative is going around that he's 37 years old and he keeps getting injured. Yeah. But like when he actually plays, he's putting up really good numbers. And anytime you have Chris Paul out there, he's like your quarterback. He keeps things calm. He puts the Suns players into the right spots, and just all those years of experience and being the point god that we all know and love. He does that every single night. And I feel like that sometimes gets overlooked with Suns fans. And yeah, thank you, J-Rom, for bringing this up too. CP3 with 11 assists. And don't forget to mention 0 turnovers. That's huge. Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. And yeah, I mean, Mark Jackson also points it out as well. Dario Saric was great too. 19 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 made threes. Dario Saric, in my opinion, is a really overlooked passer. And I mean that in a good way, like an underrated passer, if you will. Monty Williams has always called him a connector, and it's true. Dario Saric is looking healthy. He's playing aggressive. He's getting the minutes. He's taking advantage of, DeAndre Ayton being out and other Suns players in foul trouble. Bismack Biyombo had 5 blocks tonight, by the way, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 6 points. But Dario Saric has been playing great, man. I'm pretty much giving MVPs out left and right here, but Jock Landale was cooking tonight. I know that he shot 6 for 13, but he had 15 points tonight, 3 assists, 3 boards. He spaces the floor. He can hit the 3. Jock Landale was really good tonight. Let me know who your guys' MVP of the game was. We kind of just talked about it. Best off the bench was definitely Dario Saric. Once again, honorable mention to Jock Landale. Worst moment of the game, in my opinion, was obviously, I already talked about it, the second quarter, and that Cam Johnson popped to the face. I hope he's okay. Sure he is. So I kind of just wanted to speed through that. Again, if there's any more takeaways you guys have, let me know. I thought Saben Lee was also really good off the bench tonight. 21 minutes, had 6 nice assists. He had 4 rebounds. That dude is quick too, man. I really like what I'm seeing out of Saben Lee. And I tweeted this out earlier. You guys follow me on Twitter, by the way. Damian Lee needs to be in the 3-point contest. And that's it. That's really all I have for tonight in terms of this game. But real quick, though, I do want to actually just look at the team stats, though. I'm not really going to focus too much on the Hornets, you guys, because if you haven't really been following the Hornets this year, like I said, they're injured, they're young, they just need to quote, sell off most of their team and rebuild around LaMelo Ball, in my personal opinion. They're just not a good team, man. I don't know. I just think that for them to even be considered like contenders or to reach the playoffs, I think it's going to be a few years. So the Suns shot 50% in this game. We had 22 3-pointers made. That is huge. We shot 55% tonight from 3. 22 3-pointers tonight, you guys. We were 12 for 13 from the free throw line, which that has to be our best percentage of the season, 92%. Crushed them on the rebounding battle, 55-39. And we had 38 assists. Let me repeat all that. We shot 50% from the field, 55% from 3, 22 3-pointers made, 92% from the free throw line, 55 rebounds, and 30 assists. Amazing. 10 blocks. We did have 18 turnovers. And they won the points in the paint battle because really that's all they could do in this game was just attack the paint and hit mid-range shots. They had 58 points in the paint. We had 44. Both teams had 21 fouls. Great game for the Phoenix Suns. And as I mentioned at the start of the show, every win matters. Every win. We are barely over 500. We're 25-24 now. Guys are slowly but surely coming back, and every win is going to matter now. And as I was talking about with the Suns Jam Session podcast, I don't want to jinx anything, but I feel, and people have mentioned this to me in comments, and I've seen it on Twitter and stuff. We might be, I was terrified of our January schedule. And don't get me wrong, it's still tough. I mean, like I mentioned, you can lose on any given night. But I feel like we're kind of past that brutal January schedule, because the schedule kind of gets easier for the Suns in a way. Again, I don't want to jinx anything. You can lose on any given night. I can't stress that enough. But just real quick, before we dive into these Suns trade rumors and everything, and again, if you guys got any questions or comments or anything, let me know. I'll try to get to all of them. Let me just kind of read you guys the schedule. In fact, I'll just show you the schedule because I don't think there's any ads on this one page. Let's see here. Share my screen. I got like a few multi-screens going on right now. So share screen. One-man show here, you guys. My apologies. Let's just look at the schedule. So we play Dallas next. That's on Thursday. Oops, that looks bad. There we go. Play Dallas next. That's on Thursday. TNT game, by the way. Then we play the Spurs. They're very bad. Toronto has been a disappointment this season. We're going to talk about Toronto later in a little bit, so stay tuned for that. I mean, any game is winnable, so who knows? That's a toss-up game, and the Mavericks game won't be easy either. The Hawks are a roller coaster. The Boston game is going to be very hard. February 3rd against Boston. Then we play the Pistons the next day. That's a back-to-back. That could be a trap game. Then you play the Brooklyn Nets. Not sure if Kevin Durant's going to be playing in that. Did I see that he's coming back soon? I don't know. But still. Then we play the Hawks again, then the Pacers, then the Kings. It's like the schedule sort of lightens up in February. Plus, don't forget, you guys, All-Star Weekend in February. I think there's like a week off. You know what I mean? Like, that's one thing I love that the NBA has done is that during All-Star Weekend, you get like 4 or 5 extra days off. It's awesome. And don't get me wrong, there's some tough matchups in here. Like we got the Bucks on February 26th. We play Dallas later. It's like it's going to get a little, but we're pretty much past that brutal part of the schedule. In my personal opinion, I just wanted to go over that real quick. Let's get to some comments, and then we will get into these trade rumors and stuff. I want to say my piece on all this. Can we talk about how great the entire lineup played and no one played a ton of minutes? Yeah, I haven't even mentioned Mikal Bridges once in this live stream, and I should have. Mikal Bridges is coming back into form, and he's doing it offensively and defensively, and he's been aggressive. He's been great. I feel like Bismack Biyombo and Jacques Landale both done a great job of filling in for Ayton. I feel like we're sort of being reminded that this team is super deep. Even though we were a little exposed when we were super injured, this team is very deep. And I think with Booker and Ayton and all them out, the Suns are reminding us of that. So that's a great comment there. Super Dario is back. MVP Cam Johnson, absolutely. Shout out to my guy Sawbucks. For a while, I forgot what winning feels like. And winning feels great. When did Dario start playing like Magic Johnson? See, that's what I was referencing is Dario Saric is a really good passer, man. He's just been so good. I love Dario Saric, man. Saban Lee is going to be good in a few years. We need to sign him. Absolutely. Look, I know that a lot of people love Dwayne Washington Jr. and they love his scoring, and so do I. And I understand that there's two-way roster slots and you can only have so many two-way players on the team. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Saban Lee's still on a 10-day contract, so I don't know how it's going to work for the salary or the roster position. I know that Suns fans would love to have both of these guys on their team. it's going to be a tough choice, but Saben Lee's been good. He really has. I know that he's been a little inefficient from the scoring department, but he brings a lot to this team, and James Jones and Monty Williams really like him. And I'm not saying they don't like Dwayne Washington Jr., but that's going to be a tough decision down the road, man. Yeah, Hambone makes a good point. I sort of referenced this earlier. Wonder who's faster, Cam Payne or Saben Lee? Don't forget, you guys, Cameron Payne is actually super fast. I kind of want to give the slight edge to Saben Lee, though. I'd like to see that like in a foot race, like have these guys race on foot first, and then have them race like dribbling a basketball down the court. That'd be interesting to see. We were the 12th seed 4 games ago, went on a 4-game win streak. Now we're the 5th seed. Exactly. Now, I think that there's a couple games still being played right now, but I don't think it's really going to affect the standings. Yeah, like the Clippers and Lakers are playing right now. So that's not necessarily going to affect the standings, but I was talking about this the other day too. It's like the Western Conference is so, I guess, fragile right now because as this comment mentions, like, one day you're the 12th seed, the next day you're the 5th seed, then you're like the 7th seed. It's hard to look at the standings right now, but I kind of mean that in a good way. The Western Conference is absolutely loaded. What, 13 teams? Yeah, 15. Yeah, 13 teams could make the playoffs right now, and there's only 8 slots. It's going to be insane. Mark Jackson says, when is the trade deadline? So this is going to be a good segue into our trade talk, if you will. And I got some things to show you guys. So really just screenshots of things that I was looking at. But when is the trade deadline? February 9th. And by the way, Suns fans, supporters of this channel, I do have that day off because it's a special day. So I probably will be doing a live show, maybe like 2 live shows. It's going to be crazy. By the way, you guys, if you're just tuning in, make sure to Hulk smash that like button. Please subscribe. Phoenix Suns content. You know, I do videos, recap shows, TikToks, YouTube shorts, everything Phoenix Suns. It's on this channel. So make sure to check that out. Appreciate your guys' support. All right. Let's dive into these trade rumors. Because, oh boy, is there a lot of them. And let's start with the important one. The Chris Paul trade rumors. Let me see just something real quick. Hold on, I gotta pop this up. No, that's the Jay Crowder stuff. Sorry, guys, I'm operating on a one-man show here. All right, cool. So, and by the way, you guys, in the link down below in the description, there's a few articles where I kind of got a lot of these notes and like information from, but we're gonna be looking at some stuff here. So, I guess how this all started, and let's be real, this isn't the first time Chris Paul has been in trade rumors. It won't be the last time. Right off the bat, if you guys want to know, do I think Chris Paul's getting traded? Absolutely not. I even tweeted it out. Follow me on Twitter. Chris Paul's not getting traded. I give Chris Paul a 1% chance of getting traded. I think it is extremely unlikely Chris Paul gets traded. But how this all began, if you will, at least today, was Mark Stein, who I like Mark Stein. I trust his reporting. I trust that he has, connections and inside sources and all that. He put out his like Substack or whatever. And pretty much, per Mark Stein, the Suns have identified Fred VanVleet, Terry Rozier, and Emmanuel Quickley as keyword here, potential targets ahead of the February 9th trade deadline. Also, shout out to my guy, Mark Jackson. He says, I have that day off also. It's my birthday. That's awesome, man. I hope you'll be here on the channel. I'll make sure to wish you a happy birthday that day. By the way, if it's your birthday today, happy birthday to you. To anybody whose birthday is today. Yeah, Abraham, just real quick. I pretty much sort of talked about that. I didn't really mention Ish Wainwright, but yeah, that whole situation is going to be tricky. We'll try to talk about that a little bit later. So let's talk about Chris Paul continuing on here. And I wish I would have screenshotted more of this. But here is what, now I'm going to lower this banner. Here is kind of what the rundown is. Let me know if you guys can see all this stuff, okay? So Stein Stein previously reported quickly has been generating considerable interest, but the Knicks are, quote, increasingly reluctant to part with him. The 23-year-old has one more season on his rookie deal before becoming a restricted free agent in the summer of 2024. Couple key takeaways here for Emmanuel Quickley. The Knicks are, quote, increasingly reluctant to part with him. 2, he's a restricted free agent in the summer of 2024. Not the summer of 2023, the summer of 2024. So then, as we mentioned, then Terry Rozier gets popped up. Scary Terry. It also wouldn't be a surprise if the Charlotte Hornets decide to sell at the trade deadline, but Rozier's contract status could make a swap complicated to pull off. He is in the first season of a 4-year, $96 million deal that runs through 2025-26. I will read you the short version of that. Terry Rozier may be complicated to trade for because he's making $96.3 million, and he's in the first year of that 4-year contract. Yikes. And then, there's the Fred VanVleet stuff, which I haven't really talked about on this channel. And that's not, and look, I know, I'll pop this up again if you guys want to read it, because I'm a bad reader. You guys know that. I can't read. Look, Fred VanVleet is, there's no surprise. The Raptors are having a disappointing season. Fred VanVleet's having a very disappointing season, although he's had a few good games here and there. And I'm not saying that the Suns are not interested in Fred VanVleet or Emmanuel Quickley or Terry Rozier. They all three, let's say hypothetically in a fantasy 2K world, that we ended up with 2 of these guys in the very unlikely scenario that happens. They would be great assets and they would help the Phoenix Suns. But there's just so much complications to these deals. As the Bleacher Report article and as Mark Stein made a good point. Terry Rozier's contract is ginormous. I doubt the Suns want to trade for that. Emmanuel Quickley, I just think that the Knicks like him too much. And he's had a pretty good year to my knowledge. The dude can play, and he's only 23 years old. And the Knicks, they have him for this whole season and next season, plus he's restricted after that. I don't think the Knicks want to trade Emmanuel Quickley. And then I wish I would have screenshotted this stuff. Let me see if this is it right here. No, that's the Jay Crowder stuff. We'll talk about that in a minute. Is that the Jay Crowder? I don't know what I'm talking about. But the Fred VanVleet stuff. The dude was an all-star last year. He's a great point guard in this league. He's having a bad year. I think that there's been personal stuff going on with him. I don't want to say mental health stuff, but just personal stuff going on with Fred VanVleet. And you can tell it's a bad season. And clearly what Toronto has done isn't working anymore. Now, do I think that they're going to trade Pascal Siakam? Probably not. OG Anunoby, there's so many rumors around that dude, man. One day he wants to play for Toronto. The next day you hear whispers that he wants out. Is he very Mikal Bridges-esque? Absolutely. He's a solid defender and a solid player. Would I love him on the Phoenix Suns? Yeah, but I don't know what the Raptors would want for him and what the asking price is for him. There's just so many complications with these players that we want, which is what I'm going to talk about the Rui Hachimura stuff later. I have some thoughts on the Rui Hachimura thing and why the Suns didn't go after him or, and I guess you could say trade for him. And then, Franix, I hope I read your name right, says the Suns have picks to trade. Yeah. So with that, I did write this down. Where did I put it? Where did I put it in my notes? I got notes all over here. So here's pretty much the Suns situation. The Suns, and this is shout out to Bobby Marks, who I got a lot of this from. Once again, the article should be linked down below. There's a few different articles, like Dave King, The Bright Side of the Sun, wrote one. couple ESPN things, Yahoo Sports, Jake Fisher, and all them. So the Suns have $6.4 million to send and receive. So they got a little bit of room there. The Suns have one open roster spot and are $16.3 million over the luxury tax. They might have to pay $33 million penalty. They are projected to pay a $33 million penalty. Devin Booker can't be traded this season, nor is he going to get traded. And you guys already know, DeAndre Ayton has the right to veto any trade. He also cannot be dealt to Indiana. This all comes from ESPN and Bobby Marks, by the way, who I like Bobby Marks. I think he does a great job. And as Fran Nix mentioned, we have all of our first and second round picks for the next 7 drafts. Let me repeat that. We have all 7, so 14 picks. Is that correct? Is my math good? I don't know. We have all 7 of our future first and second round picks. That is a huge asset nowadays. But again, I just don't know if, let's say, the Toronto Raptors are going to want a Jay Crowder and 2 second round picks or a first round pick. I think that there's just a lot of, I follow a lot of Suns Twitter, and I love Suns Twitter, man. I really do. But anytime a player is rumored, the Suns fans just think, oh my gosh, let's go get him. He's available. This is NBA 2K. Let's make a trade at the click of the button. It doesn't work like that, you guys. And that's why I'm bringing up these salaries and showing you guys these reports and some of the complications that come with these trades. Is Jay Crowder going to get traded? Absolutely. Is James Jones going to wait till the final hour to do it? Probably. And James Jones pretty much said that. He pretty much said, not all the deals have been on the table yet. And I think it might be right here. Let me see if this is it. Let me just read you guys right here. Okay. In December, ESPN's Brian Windhorst reported on the Hoop Collective that rival teams have found it, and I quote, challenging to do trade business with the Suns. Windhorst added, Phoenix, quote, may have to lower their standard because it is balked at the offers it has received for Crowder in straight up trades and preferred 3-team swaps. Yada, yada, yada. James Jones is stubborn. But at the same time, maybe James Jones is just being as patient as possible. Keep in mind, you guys, in all fairness, it's not even February yet. And I know the February trade deadline is February 9th, but teams might get squirrely. They might get panicky. Or, let's use Charlotte. Let's pick on Charlotte a little bit. They have LaMelo Ball. We'll throw a couple of their young guys in there. They have Mark Williams, who's a nice big center, productive center. I've seen some numbers and everything. He was a nice pickup for them in the draft, by the way. But they're not going to trade him. They're not going to trade LaMelo. Let's say they don't trade, I don't know, Kai Jones or whoever. Nick Richards played well tonight, especially a couple plays on Dario Saric, by the way. They're probably not going to trade some of their really young guys, but Terry Rozier's obviously in trade rumors for a reason. Mason Plumlee, Gordon Hayward, you're going to see some of these kind of older players probably go. And that's my point. Even though the Charlotte Hornets are tanking for Wemby and all that, their season's pretty much done. Some other teams who have kind of fallen off, in my opinion, I think are going to get a little squirrely, a little panicky, and you're going to see teams make moves. So I think, in all fairness to James Jones, I think he literally is waiting until February 9th. Because let's be real, even though a lot of these trades are done sometimes months in advance, or at least a week in advance, you never know who's going to pick up the phone, man, and say, hey, we want Jay Crowder and a draft pick. Here's player X. But I do agree that the Jay Crowder, as someone just mentioned, I do agree that Jay Crowder's value is dropping. I think it's already pretty damn low. And that's what's tricky about this Jay Crowder situation is, James Jones and the Phoenix Suns and Jay Crowder have mutually agreed to part ways or whatever. And they're letting Jay Crowder sit in Atlanta and work out and train. But you gotta wonder if maybe the NBA steps in next season and doesn't allow teams to do this. At least if I were Adam Silver, I would do something about it. I wonder if like James Jones had to like get Adam Silver's permission to do that. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I didn't do enough homework on it, but Jay Crowder's sitting at home because he doesn't want to play because, quote, the business of basketball is taking its course. And the whole Cam Johnson starting over him thing. And he wanted an extended contract, yada, yada, yada. That's got to lose his value. That's got to bring the value even lower. And that's why I'm like, I've said this in past live streams and even tonight, I'm like who really wants a Jay Crowder? Like, yes, he can contribute to a veteran championship team, but you got to maybe think they're going to be like, dude, are you going to flake out on us if you don't get your way, Jay Crowder? And I like Jay Crowder. I do. I don't like this whole scenario, this whole Jay Crowder saga, if you will, but Max says, my guy, Suns Geek, appreciate you being here. Thank you for everybody that's being here. You guys are just listening to me rant about Chris Paul and the trade rumors and all that. So I don't know, you guys. Once again, is Chris Paul getting traded? No. I give it a 1%. He's not getting traded. Ooh, and before we end before we end the Chris Paul trade rumors. Now look, let me just say this. Is a Chris Paul trade impossible? Absolutely not. This is the NBA, man. Anything could happen. A team could go from a championship contender to a tanking team overnight in the NBA. Let's be real. And again, I give Chris Paul a 1% chance of being traded. Extremely unlikely, not going to happen. But let me just read you guys this and look at the screen right now. If you guys are watching later, check out the screen right now. This comes from Sports Track. Shout out to them. They do great work over there. Here's Chris Paul's current contract situation. He signed a 4-year, $120 million contract with the Phoenix Suns, $75 million of it guaranteed. So obviously we're in the year 2023. He's making $28 million this year. All of it's guaranteed. Next year, in the 2023-24 season, is where it gets interesting. He'll be making $30 million, but only $15.8 million of it is guaranteed. And then he's here, another year after that, he'll be 39 in 2024-25. And then in 2025, he'll be 40 and he'll be an unrestricted free agent. And you got to kind of hope that maybe by next season, like the start of the 2023-24 season, that the Suns kind of have a vision of the post Chris Paul era. And by that, I mean they have a point guard or point guards in place that can learn from Chris Paul, be mentored by Chris Paul, and take over this team. You know what I mean? Like some of us might have envisioned that with campaign, which by the way, I'm going to kind of give you guys a campaign. I don't want to call it an update, just things that I saw, but campaign is very injured right now. We're going to talk about that later, but so that's pretty much Chris Paul's situation. He'll be 40 years old in 2025 when his contract is up, and he'll be an unrestricted free agent. And who knows what's going to happen with the Phoenix Suns by then. But again, I hope that we have at least, a solid point guard of the future and maybe like a backup point guard of the future by the time Chris Paul's contract is done. I don't know, you guys. I don't see a Chris Paul trade happening. Let's get to some comments. Then I'll just give my quick thoughts on the Rui Hachimura stuff and why the Suns didn't trade for him. Just kind of wanted to say my piece on that. Once again, you guys are watching, do me a huge favor. Hulk smash that like button. Please subscribe. Appreciate y'all being here. Caleb Martin for Jay. I saw an article about it a few days ago. I'm not going to lie. I don't really know too much about Caleb Martin. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think it's extremely unlikely just because of the Hornets situation. Like, they're not going to, if they're going to trade, I don't think a Drake Crowder to Charlotte trade makes sense because of how bad the Hornets are. Like, he's not going to want to play for them. He'll probably sit out again. Let's see. He hasn't played in almost a year. Teams for sure are going to offer a good deal for Crowder. Teams are not going to offer a good deal for Crowder. He's losing his value. I agree with that. As of right now, looks like Milwaukee is the only team interested in Crowder out of all their players. Who we're going to get? Javon Carter, Grayson Allen, Marjon Beauchamp, Serge Ibaka. So obviously, I've read a lot of the Milwaukee stuff over the past few months and all that. I highly doubt that they trade. Now, you said a key name in here, and I'm glad you know this, Abraham. Marjon Beauchamp. I think that's extremely unlikely. I like Marjon Beauchamp. I really do. I think he's actually provided some great minutes for them. He's a young, kind of solid defender, lots of potential. But I think they drafted him for a reason, and I think he landed with a great, opportunity because he has filled in for like Chris Middleton. He's provided some good minutes. He's probably learning a lot from Giannis. I've said this multiple times. I doubt Grayson Allen gets traded to the Suns. He just doesn't seem like a James Jones kind of guy. Even though I think, he's like the perfect example of you would love him if he's on your team, but you hate him when he's not on your team. I can't see James Jones trading for him. Javon Carter, maybe, but I don't know. And Serge Ibaka, who I think just got released or waived. I'm not saying that's impossible, but that would be sort of a log jam, don't you think? Like, I know we're kind of weak at power. Like, you guys, would you play him over a Bismack Biyombo? I don't know. And he's older and he's dealt with injuries. He's not the Serge Ibaka that, was on those that OKC team that went to the finals and all that. Although I really do like Serge Ibaka, I really have, but I don't know. But is Jay Crowder going to get traded to a contender? Absolutely. Z Tune says Chris Paul is retiring in Phoenix. Exactly. Facts. I 100% agree with that. I've had people in my Twitter mentions say, we're going to release Chris Paul and we're going to trade him for this. And someone left a comment saying Chris Paul has no value. I'm like, dude, you do not watch Phoenix Suns basketball, man. I just don't see a Chris Paul trade happening. I really don't. I'm sorry, man. Caleb Martin is on Miami. My bad. Doesn't he have a brother for the Hornets? Or he did? I know they're twins, but you get my point. Now, is a Jay Crowder to trade to Miami possible? Probably. But I don't know, man. You guys tell me. Caleb Martin, I'm not seeing it, you guys. All right. Let me give my piece on the Rui Hachimura stuff. Why didn't the Suns trade for Rui Hachimura? I took a lot of notes for this one, so strap in. I'm not going to read it all to you guys. I'm kind of just going to read you guys the highlights of my notes that I took. The way that I look at it is Rui Hachimura an intriguing prospect? Yes. He's still very young. We saw a great game that he had against us. He had like 30 something points, show a lot of flashes and potential. He's like, what, 20 something, 25, I think. Still pretty young. Might be younger than that. I think the reason the Rui Hachimura trade didn't go down, and I sort of feel like I mentioned it. I just think James Jones was super stubborn and didn't want to accept what the Wizards were asking for. And I think James Jones would probably throw the excuse of, we weren't like happy with the trade market, and we don't know of all the deals that could have happened if we would have traded for Rui Hachimura. And then there's maybe the thought, I guess theory, if you will, that maybe the Suns weren't as involved as we think. And I know that it's been reported by very trusted sources, Jake Fisher, who I really do trust and respect. Maybe the Suns were mentioned and involved for a short period of time. Like the NBA moves fast, man. Maybe the Suns were interested one day or one week and they weren't interested the next. And maybe that got carried through and then also, kind of like I mentioned before, a Jay Crowder to Washington trade just doesn't make sense. Because look at their draft history. They're almost as bad as the Suns are in drafting. Like Johnny Davis even struggled in the G League. And some of their other picks haven't worked out. And Bradley Beal, with all due respect, who is an all-star caliber player, a great scorer, apparently said, there was no team that was interested in me or whatever. And like, I couldn't go anywhere where I could win or whatever. That was BS. Bradley Beal, man, just needs to get traded. The Wizards need to move on. Even if they make the playoffs somehow, they're not a good team, man. Although I like some of their players, Kristaps Porzingis has shown flashes. Daniel Gafford plays hard for them. They have some solid players, but I just don't like what the Wizards are doing. A Crowder to Washington trade doesn't make sense. Now, I also read this, that even though a lot of people are trashing the Wizards for the deal they made with the Lakers, which, by the way, if you didn't hear about that trade, what was it? It was like Kendrick Nunn and 2 second-round picks or something. I think that was the trade. Someone made this good point. The real get for Washington in this deal was freeing up a forward rotation and adding 3 second-round picks for a player they weren't going to re-sign this summer. I think they kind of just made their choice. They traded for Kristaps Porzingis, and they got some other younger talent over there, and they're going to have a high draft pick, and who knows, maybe a second-round pick and picks in the future. And I don't know, you guys. And maybe Rui Hachimura goes to the Lakers and shines. And maybe the Suns are kicking themselves saying, damn it, we should have traded for Rui, yada, yada. But I just don't see it. And I just wanted to give my piece. The Suns didn't trade for Rui Hachimura. Let's move on. That's just how I look at it. Like, I'm not going to be now. Look, if Rui Hachimura is an all-star for the Lakers like next season, yes, I will call myself out and say we screwed up. We should have traded for Rui, but I don't see it, man. He's a good player. He has flashes, but that's my piece. Those are my thoughts. Yeah, thank you, Sawbucks. Kendrick Nunn and 3 second-round picks, which that's a lot. I know that second-round picks aren't super valuable, although don't forget Nikola Jokic was a second-round draft pick. But draft picks are kind of like gold. With the way that OKC trades for those things, I feel like they're pretty valuable. And that's why I mentioned the Phoenix Suns having all 7 for the next 7 drafts. They have all of them for the next 7 drafts, first and second round. That is huge. So that's my piece. That's my rant. Those are my thoughts on why the Suns didn't trade for Rui Hachimura. And maybe I'm wrong, you guys. Correct me in the comments afterwards. Tell me in the chat. Say, Suns Geek, you're wrong. We should have traded for Rui Hachimura. I don't see it, you guys. I'm going to open up the floor to you guys now. Ask me a question. Let me know your thoughts. We can talk about whatever here. I've pretty much said everything I wanted to say. Once again, you guys, there has been better coverage of this and better reporting, and it's all linked down below. The Bleacher Report article that mentions, Terry Rozier, Fred VanVleet, Emmanuel Quickly. Then there's the Jake Fisher article, and then there's a good article that I just read prior to this live stream, Right Side of the Sun, Dave King. Good stuff in there. Go check it out. Speaking of bright side of the sun, you guys, shout out to my guy Rod. Rod reached out to me. He writes for Bright Side of the Sun and everything. He reached out to me, and I actually got to contribute to their Inside the Suns uh, weekly edition. And I gave my thoughts on like Victor Wembanyama and DeAndre Ayton, and I was part of it. It was cool, man. You guys can go check that out. I posted it on Twitter, and I think I shared it on my Instagram story. But it's pretty cool. You guys will find it if you check out the Inside the Suns latest edition. You'll see my name in there and everything. But let's get to some questions here. George asks a great question. Who should the Suns get? I don't know, man. But I'll answer this without actually giving you a name. We're going to get somebody who we're not thinking about. We're going to get somebody who James Jones believes can contribute to this team. And we're going to get somebody that the trade will benefit both sides. Because James Jones has talked about it a lot. He's not just going to trade Jay Crowder for a vending machine and candy. He's not going to do that. He's not going to trade for somebody who's like on a 1-year deal, expiring contract. He's not going to trade for a rookie probably because he hates rookies. He hates the draft. So even though the Jay Crowder trade is super complicated, he's not going to just trade him for crap unless that's all that the market has to offer. And again, I really believe that Jay Crowder is going to get traded the final hour of the deadline. We're all going to be freaking out and panicking. I'm probably going to be live that day being like, James Jones, what the hell are you doing? And then bam, we're going to get the Woj tweet or the Shams tweet. Jay Crowder has been traded for player X, Y, and Z or whatever. So I don't know, man. Next question. Sawbucks makes a good point too. Rui would cost too much in the long run. Exactly. Mug says, what's the best way to get an autograph at a game? Great question. Now look, I've been to a Suns game since 2019. Because if you guys follow me, you guys know I don't live in Phoenix anymore. Shocker, I know. And I know that COVID has probably interrupted a lot of fans meeting players. Although now I think they've loosened restrictions. And anyways, here's my advice. Go as early as freaking possible. Try to get in as early as possible. Don't be a jerk. Be patient. Don't be throwing elbows and screaming and all that stuff, being obnoxious and all that. Just be chill, be calm. Say the player's first name, or maybe call them a name that they might like D-Book or something like that, or Dominating or Super Dario. Try to get their attention that way. Just be chill, man, and have something ready to sign and have like a good marker. And yeah, that's my advice. Good question. How on earth did Crowder have the leverage to negotiate doing nothing until he got traded? I got to reread that question again. How on earth did Crowder have the leverage to negotiate doing nothing until he got traded? That's a great question, Todd. Oh, that's so good. That's an excellent question, man. I like that. I wish I was smart enough to answer that right now, but my brain is mush. I'm gonna screen cap that and ask people on Twitter. And great question, Todd. Too early to start thinking about this, but the Suns should now start looking for a future promising point guard. Would be best if they could draft one. Shout out to you, James Jones. Imagine if we drafted Bronny. He's a projected second round pick. Yeah, we're going to get LeBron at like age 42. He's going to be the NBA's all-time leading scorer, which, by the way, he's close to that. He's like 200 something points away or whatever. That'd be amazing, though. Bronny looks good, though, man. Look, I'm not a draft expert, so take this with a grain of salt. Take this as you will, but the highlights I've seen, and I know that highlights make everybody look good, but the highlights I've seen from Bronny James looks pretty damn good, man. He's probably never going to be up there with LeBron. I mean, who is? It's like Michael Jordan and LeBron and, whatever, but he's probably going to be pretty damn good, you guys. Shout out to my guy Manuel. He's always in here, man. Appreciate all your support, bro. You're always in here, man. He says, "Man, so happy the Suns are winning again. You guys, can we just take a break for a minute? We have won 4 games in a row, and every win matters." And on that note, no, I am not drinking tonight, but I do need to take a sip of my water. By the way, if anybody from, I think it's Zoa, is that how you pronounce it? These energy drinks are amazing. They're super healthy for the most part. They got electrolytes, antioxidants, 100% DV, vitamin C, blah, blah, blah. They got all this great stuff. I love these things. I had one of these before I went live, kind of during the third quarter. So if anybody is watching from them, please sponsor me. All right, next question. Can we talk about how Mikal is getting better off the ball? He is even more dangerous now. You guys, I have not shown Mikal Bridges enough love recently, like in terms of videos or live streams. He's playing great, man. I think I saw that like he was averaging. Oop, I clicked the wrong profile. I'm looking up some stats right now. I think like through 4-5 games, he was averaging like 20 something points per game. His field goal percentage has gotten better. He's more confident driving to the rim. You know, you mentioned he's getting better off the ball. He's more aggressive now. And I mentioned that when Cam Johnson returned, that he just looked better and he looked happier and he looked more confident. I really feel like all the injuries sort of took a toll. We all know Mikal Bridges is the NBA's Iron Man, and he plays, you know, if he could, he probably would play every minute of every game. But I feel like when we were down to like 8 players, Cam was out and all other, you know, everybody else was out, I feel like it really took a mental hit to Mikal Bridges. And he even acknowledged that he was struggling. And he probably was injured. I think there was like a rumor going around that he was playing injured. Not sure if that was actually confirmed or not, but he's playing great, man. Let me just read you guys some stats from his last few games, which, by the way, again, I barely talked about him tonight, but he had 18 points, 3 assists. He shot 43% from the field tonight, 40% from 3, and he had a block and a steal. Played 30 minutes, by the way. That's pretty big. I mean, Mikal Bridges, 30 minutes against the Grizzlies, or, you know, the other night. This was on the 16th. 42 minutes against the Nets, 37 against the Pacers, 41 against the Grizzlies on the 22nd. Bridges has had 21, 28, 22, 24, and 18 points in his last 5 games. Shout out to Mikal Bridges, man. He's playing great. Shout out to my guy, Mark Cooper. Do you still worry that Sarver, until he's officially gone, is a problem until Matt Ishbia takes over to do anything that he said James can add salary? Excellent question, Mark. And there's some I don't want to say shaky reporting, but maybe conflicting reporting. Because at first, I made a whole video about this. We were told that Robert Sarver still has, I guess, authority to decline any trade that is over $10 million, Jay Crowder. But then we were told that Matt Ishbia pretty much told James Jones, get aggressive in trade talks. So I'm going to say conflicting reporting. Now, the Sarver stuff is maybe potentially true. And I even said, I was like, dude, what if Robert Sarver's all pissed off and salty and petty and doesn't allow James Jones to do that? First off, can Sarver do that? Maybe. And that's where the reporting is conflicting, because they said that Robert Sarver was suspended and can't have any involvement with the Suns or the Mercury, but yet he's allowed to approve trade. It is just a mess. The whole Robert Sarver thing from top to bottom, not to mention all the terrible things he did that he was proven, I think it was proven guilty of or whatever. I don't know, you guys, but I hope and pray, Mark, that the Matt Ishbia stuff is true. That Matt Ishbia did, and I think it's been reported that he did give James Jones and everybody the permission to get aggressive in trade talks. So we'll have to see. James Jones loves making those smaller moves that doesn't make sense to Suns fans, but works in the big picture. Exactly. Shout out to Torrey Craig. I know that we've been criticized for trading for Torrey Craig twice, but stuff like that, you know? So I agree with you, man. That's what James Jones is going to do. How do I get a Josh Jackson autograph? Better yet, how do you get him to show up? Sawbucks, you're a real one, man. I remember making a video about that. And look, love or hate James Jones, I will always respect James Jones because of this. This was what, in 2019? Josh Jackson was supposed to do an autograph session, like at Fry's or something. Fans showed up. And for some reason, he was like with a friend and he flaked out on the autograph session. And James Jones showed up, signed autographs. And if you were over 21, he bought everybody like a case of beer. I made a video about that. So, love or hate James Jones, that was pretty freaking awesome of him to do. And I understand he was like the new general manager, or he might have even still been the assistant at the time, but still, not every assistant or general manager would do that, especially nowadays. So you're a real one, Sawbucks, for remembering that. But two, that's just awesome of James Jones, man. Abraham says, excited to see Ayton back. Saw that he was questionable tonight, but ended up not playing tonight. We're already dominating and will be better once Ayton returns. Exactly. Again, you guys, I know that DeAndre Ayton is very, his play is up and down, inconsistent, but I really feel like Ayton would have been a huge, huge impact these last few games. I really do believe that. Mikhail Stark. It's funny you mentioned that, Z2, and hold on, you guys. Because last night, I'm prepping. I haven't seen Black Panther 2 Wakanda Forever, so I'm kind of gearing up for that. Last night I watched Captain America Civil War, which, by the way, this movie on 4K looks incredible. Even it's been what? This movie came out in 2016. This movie's still amazing. Absolutely incredible. Even if you're like not a huge Marvel fan, just watch this movie. It is just I feel like this movie's like 3 movies put into one. It's freaking amazing, man. And I know that Civil War isn't like it is in the comic books because that was like a whole event and years and all that, but this is pretty damn good. I love this movie. Let's see. Trying to get to every comment here. Christopher says all the minutes the Suns bench have been getting this season will be clutch, and when and if the Suns can get healthy. Yeah, man, there sort of has been a blessing. I haven't really talked about this much, but in short, I don't want to spend too much time on this. Thank you for your comment, Christopher. But in short, the minutes the Suns bench and third string guys have been receiving, I think is really solid because these guys are getting in more reps together. They're getting more experience. Even if we like lose bad, like they're getting that experience and that will come big and in handy, when we make the playoffs and are put in difficult situations. So thank you for that comment, man. Let's get Oubre back. We need his light skin powers back with Book. I'll tell you this, from a chemistry standpoint, DeAndre Ayton would love that because they were like best friends. And I think Devin Booker would love that too. But salary and contracts and I don't know. All right, you guys, get your final questions in. We're gonna wrap this up in a minute. I feel like I've said everything I needed to say. So if you got any last minute questions or comments, let me know. Going forward, you guys, like I said, you guys know me. I try to do as many of these live shows as possible. And probably once a month or so, you'll see me on the Suns Jam Session podcast. Shout out to those guys over there. They're my friends. We always have a great time every time I'm over there. But you guys know me. I'm always pumping out the videos, pumping out the content. Follow me on TikTok, by the way, if you're on TikTok. I've been doing my series called Reacting to Suns Twitter. It's been an absolute blast. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Maybe I need to make a Mikal Bridges video next because he's been playing absolutely incredible. So yeah, I think that's it, you guys. It's been a fun show. I just had to give my piece. In short, Chris Paul's not getting traded, and the Suns didn't trade for Rui Hachimura, probably to be determined for the right reason. We'll have to see, though. And yes, Jay Crowder is getting traded. Yes, he will get traded. Probably not tomorrow, but he will get traded on February 9th. We'll have to see what happens. I'm going to maybe go live for that Mavericks game. If not, I'll probably do a live stream next week. Maybe I'll do like a Q&A session because I wanted to do more of those. I did one at the start of the new year, but I've been a little inconsistent with them. So maybe I'll do like a Q&A live stream soon. So stay tuned for more content, you guys. I'm out of here. Enjoy the rest of your night. God bless you guys. Stay safe out there. And as always, you guys, win or lose, Phoenix Suns, and go Suns. Peace out.